straight. Gout's got a lot to do, we knew that. He gets up alongside Law. Can he get to Kennedy? Not at the moment. Kennedy's in front. Gout's coming hard. Very, very hard. Kennedy's won.
Lachlan Kennedy delivered a stunning upset over teenage sensation Gout Gout in the Peter Norman Memorial 200 meters at Melbourne's Maurie plant meet, shaking up the Australian track and field world. In front of a sold-out Lakeside Stadium, Kennedy clocked a personal best 20.26 seconds, narrowly edging out the heavily favored Gout by just 0.04 of a second. The race instantly became one of the most memorable moments in recent Australian athletics history. 21-year-old Kennedy, fresh off a silver medal in the 60 meters at the World Indoor Championships, wasn't expected to steal the spotlight. All eyes were on 17-year-old Gout, who had captured national attention after breaking Peter Norman's 56-year-old record with a 20.04-second run in December. Just weeks ago, Gout ran a wind-assisted 19.98, increasing the hype around the rising star.
Away cleanly now, under 2200 metre final, Hamilton, Lowett's, Hancock, Lee, Gout, Atkinson, Tully, Wade, Hancock, watch the clock, ladies and gentlemen. He's hit the front, he's hit the straight, 80 to go, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, Gout down towards the end.
Kennedy's victory was made even more remarkable by the dramatic way it unfolded. He shot out of the blocks, quickly building a lead around the bend. As they entered the home straight, Kennedy still led, but Gout, known for his explosive finishing speed, began to close the gap with every stride. The crowd erupted as Gout surged past Calablaw and set his sights on Kennedy, who suddenly seemed vulnerable. I knew he'd be coming, so my goal was to just hold him off. I think 5 more meters, he definitely would have had me, Kennedy admitted to Channel 7 after the race, acknowledging just how close he came to being overtaken. The finish line photo revealed just how narrow his margin of victory was, with Kennedy's 20.26 securing 5th place on the Australian all-time list behind Gout, Norman, Dean Capobianco, and John Denan. The race created an atmosphere that even the athletes found surreal. Gout later described the moment to athletics.com. The silence was crazy out there. The silence was loud, as people say. You could hear a pin drop, and then, suddenly, everyone was screaming my name at the top of their lungs. This reaction highlighted the unusual dynamic of the night. Despite finishing second, Gout remained the crowd favorite and the center of attention. Kennedy, to his credit, showed tremendous respect for his younger rival in his post-race comments. Australian sprinting's on one right now. The depth is crazy. We've got good runners everywhere you look. To be ahead of Gout, he's a legend. He'll do many great things along the way. It's an absolute privilege to be part of this group, he told Channel 7. This graciousness underscored the mutual respect between the two sprinters who now appear poised to push Australian sprinting to unprecedented heights.
So how does that feel? I mean, bit of a crazy journey, but my goal here was to medal at the end of the day, so I'm very happy with that. I'm ashamed I didn't go 6'4", which was my goal, but I mean, can't be too. I was pretty much next closest thing to 6'4", so I'm very happy with that. Yeah,
For Gout, this was his first second-place finish in over 8 months, dating back to August 2024. When he took silver in the 200 meters at the World Athletics U20 Championships in Peru. Since then, he had been on an incredible winning streak, including a 200-meter and 400-meter double at the GPS Track and Field Championships in October, and his record-breaking 20th.04-second run in December, which not only surpassed Peter Norman's Australian record, but also made him faster than Usain Bolt was at the same age. Despite the disappointment of falling short in his senior-level debut, Gout remained composed and focused. Getting these races in is great. They build my confidence and help me think about what I need to do, he told Channel 7. The teenager also spoke about the pressure he faces. The attention is great, but it also comes with expectations from people worldwide. Comparisons to Bolt and others can be daunting, but I just keep it simple and keep running. This philosophical approach from someone so young highlights why Gout has captured the public's imagination beyond just his athletic prowess. As he told athletics.com, "This is something not a lot of people get to experience. I'm just taking it step by step and enjoying it." His ability to remain grounded amid the swirling hype has earned him admiration from fans and fellow athletes alike. The race lived up to its hype as one of the most anticipated on Australian soil in a generation. Despite less than ideal conditions, cool temperatures and a slight wind, the showdown between Kennedy and Gout thrilled the crowd, with commentators declaring that race did not disappoint. The intensity peaked as Kennedy held the lead around the bend, with the commentator adding, "Gout's coming hard, very, very hard," as the dramatic finish unfolded. Kennedy's breakthrough performance also represents a major milestone in his own career. Coming into the race with a personal best of 21.19 seconds, he obliterated that mark by nearly a full second, an extraordinary improvement at the elite level. His victory places him firmly among Australia's sprint elite and establishes him as much more than just a supporting character in the Gout Gout story. The race's significance was amplified by its namesake, the Peter Norman Memorial 200 meters. Norman, whose 20.06-second national record stood for 56 years, famously won silver at the 1968 Mexico Olympics. Gout's record-breaking run in December marked the symbolic passing of the torch in Australian sprinting, with both Kennedy and Gout now carrying that legacy forward. What makes this rivalry so thrilling is the contrast in styles. Kennedy, the experienced 21-year-old who has steadily climbed the ranks, versus Gout, the teenage prodigy with record-breaking times. Kennedy's strength in the first half of the race pairs perfectly with Gout's explosive finish, creating dramatic tension whenever they race. As Australian track fans catch their breath from this thriller, the question now becomes, what happens next? With the domestic season building toward nationals and international competitions on the horizon, the Kennedy-Gout rivalry promises to deliver more memorable moments. The long-term implications could extend all the way to the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, where both men could potentially be in their prime. For now, Kennedy basks in the glory of a career-defining victory, while Gout absorbs a valuable lesson in his development. As the commentator observed while the race concluded, "This is a race people are going to be talking about for a long, long time." In a sport often measured in hundredths of seconds, Kennedy and Gout have delivered something truly immeasurable, a moment that has galvanized Australian athletics and captured the imagination of fans around the world. What do you think about Lachlan Kennedy's shocking upset victory? Could this be the beginning of one of track and field's great rivalries? And how will Gout Gout respond to this setback at upcoming competitions? The Australian sprint revolution is just beginning, and if Saturday night in Melbourne was any indication, we're in for an unforgettable ride.
Watch the clock, ladies and gentlemen. He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. There you go. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Australian sprint sensation. Gout Gout has sent shockwaves through the athletics world by delivering a stunning rebuke to comparisons with legendary Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt. The 17-year-old phenom, who has been consistently breaking records and making headlines, has finally spoken out about the constant parallels drawn between him and the greatest sprinter of all time, and his response has left the track and field community stunned. Gout said in a candid 7 News Spotlight interview with renowned sports commentator Bruce McAvaney, "In the moment it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. At times, it does get a bit overwhelming, but now that I've grown up, I'm a bit mature, and my circle really helps me stay level, and I'm just trying to make a name for myself." Then came the statement that has everyone talking. "Although I do run like Usain Bolt, and I do maybe look like him, I'm just trying to be myself and trying to be the next Gout." With these powerful words, the teenage sprinter has made it clear that while the comparisons to Bolt initially felt flattering, they've quickly grown stale. The Australian superstar is now focused on carving his own unique legacy in the sport rather than living in anyone else's shadow.
Yeah, indeed.
How did that feel?
I mean, obviously, in the moment, it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. And at times, it does get a bit overwhelming, but now that I've grown up and I'm a bit mature, my circle really helps me stay level, and I'm just basically trying to make a name for myself. Although I do run like Usain Bolt, I do maybe look like him in a couple of ways. I just trying to be myself and just try.
What makes this declaration particularly significant is that it comes on the heels of Gout's extraordinary performances at the Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane. There, the teenager clocked an incredible 19.98 seconds in the 200-meter final, becoming the first Australian to break the 20-second barrier, though the time wasn't entered into the record books due to wind assistance exceeding the legal limit. In the heats, he posted a wind-legal 20.05, once again threatening Peter Norman's 56-year-old national record of 20.06, which Gout had already broken in December with a time of 20.04.
Away now, third of 3 heats. Under 20 boys, 100 meters. 10:35 on the clock there for Gout Gout. He'll be through to the final later on this evening.
These remarkable achievements have naturally invited comparisons to Bolt, who revolutionized sprinting during his dominant career. But Gout's rejection of these parallels represents a bold statement of independence from an athlete who appears wise beyond his years. Rather than embracing the mantle of the next Bolt, he wants to establish himself as the first Gout Gout, a superstar in his own right. Australian Olympic great John Stephenson believes the teenager's impact extends far beyond his individual achievements. He is fun to watch. It is at the point where it's just fun and exciting and the world is on notice. And really, Australia haven't had a legit sprinter since Matt Shervington, Patrick Johnson, and Peter Walsh, and they haven't done what this kid is doing, Stephenson told news.com.au after Gout broke the 20-second mark. Gout Gout has done this at just 16, 17, and even if nothing happens from here, what Gout Gout has done has set up Australians sprinting for the future, Stephenson continued. We should be in debt for the work he has done, because he's given us some belief that we can compete again with the best in the world. The international athletics community has certainly taken notice. According to Stephenson, when I speak internationally, everyone is curious about him, and even more importantly, every young boy and girl in this country that has seen what he is doing now has that seed of belief that they can do it, and it is priceless for our sport. This growing global attention makes Gout's decision to distance himself from the Bolt comparisons even more significant. Many young athletes might be tempted to lean into such prestigious parallels, but Gout's determination to forge his own identity speaks volumes about his character and confidence. With the Brisbane Olympics coming in 2032, Australian fans are already dreaming of what could be a historic moment on home soil. He is doing all the right things, so without a doubt, the world is his oyster. And we, as the Australian public, should give him time, enjoy what we are seeing, celebrate that he is an Australian, and that we have Brisbane Olympics in our backyard, and come, then potentially he is lining up, and we are cheering him home in another Kathy Freeman moment, Stephenson predicted.
Cody Jordan as his nearest challenger, starting to roll, just too late. It is the double for Pianda Walaza.
The reference to Freeman's iconic 400-meter gold medal at the 2000 Sydney Olympics highlights just how significant Gout's potential has become in the Australian sporting consciousness. Already, at just 17, he's being mentioned alongside one of the nation's greatest Olympic moments, with expectations that he could deliver something similarly special in Brisbane. For now, though, Gout's focus remains on his immediate future. Fans won't have to wait long to see him in action again, as he's set to compete at the Maurie plant meet in Melbourne on March 29th. This prestigious event will provide another opportunity for the teenager to showcase his extraordinary talent, and perhaps break even more records along the way. What makes Gout's rejection of the Bolt comparisons particularly noteworthy is that there are legitimate parallels between the two. Both are tall, graceful sprinters with exceptional closing speed. Both burst onto the scene as teenagers, setting age group records and competing against much older athletes. And both have charismatic personalities that transcend their sport. But Gout clearly understands something profound, that true greatness doesn't come from being the next version of someone else. It comes from authenticity, from embracing your unique strengths and building your own legacy. By pushing back against the Bolt comparisons, he's not diminishing the Jamaican legend's achievements, but rather asserting his own place in the sport's hierarchy. As the athletics world continues to watch Gout's development with bated breath, his stance serves as a reminder that in sports, as in life, the most compelling stories aren't about following in someone else's footsteps. They're about blazing your own trail. The teenager who was initially overwhelmed by comparisons to the greatest sprinter of all time has found his voice and his purpose. He's not the next Usain Bolt. He's the first Gout Gout. And that might just prove to be even more extraordinary. What do you think about Gout Gout's rejection of the Usain Bolt comparisons? Is he right to distance himself from these parallels at such a young age, and with his times already approaching world-class levels? Just how fast might he be running by the time the Brisbane Olympics arrive in 2032? The answers to these questions will unfold in the coming years, but one thing is certain. Gout Gout is determined to write his own story, on his own terms, and the athletics world will be watching every step of the way.
Lee, Gout, Atkinson, Cully, Brady, Peacock, watch the clock, ladies and gentlemen. He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. There you go. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20.
The sprint world is buzzing with excitement as 17-year-old Australian phenom Gout Gout has just accomplished something that has sent shockwaves through track and field, becoming the first Australian athlete in history to break the 20-second barrier in the 200 meters. At the 128th Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane, Gout clocked an astonishing 19.98 seconds. A performance that has legends of the sport breaking down what this means for the future of sprinting. While the time won't count as an official record due to wind assistance of plus 3.6 meters per second, the significance of this achievement cannot be overstated. As track and field legend Rodney Green explained on the March 19th episode of Ready, Set, Go,
he is the first Australian to sub 20 seconds in all conditions. I was happy for him. He wished that it was wind legal, but the wind didn't permit for it. It was just a little bit over the allowable, but he is the first Australian with sub 20 seconds in all conditions, which is good. I watched him, and the competition is not even, no disrespect to this competition because they are youth athletes like him, but he beat those kids by 2 seconds, bro.
What makes Gout's performance even more jaw-dropping is the margin by which he dominated his competition. The young sprinter didn't just win, he obliterated the field, finishing a full 2 seconds ahead of his closest competitor. In sprint terms, this isn't just winning, it's competing in an entirely different race altogether. Four-time world champion Justin Gatlin was left stunned by the visual evidence of Gout's dominance, remarking, "They weren't even in the screen. When the TV was panning and you was watching him pull away from the field, he just was in the screen by himself." The Queensland Championships showcased Gout's versatility and sustained excellence across multiple events. First, he captured the 100-meter title with a time of 10.38 seconds. Then, in the 200-meter heats, he posted a world-leading mark of 20.05 seconds with a wind reading of plus 1.2 meters per second, making it the fastest 200-meter run by any athlete in 2025 as of March 19th. But it was his wind-assisted 19.98 in the final that has the track world truly buzzing. This performance comes just months after Gout broke Usain Bolt's world age 16 best in the 200 meters. In 2024, at the Australian All-Schools Championships in Brisbane, he clocked 20.04 seconds to surpass Bolt's 20.13, which had stood since 2003. For context, these records from Bolt's teenage years were once considered virtually untouchable, as Rayunch Dubey aptly described them. Bolt's records used to be like those carved in stone and thrown into the bottom of the ocean. You just knew they were there, and catching them up was something next to impossible. But wait. There is more. The comparisons to Bolt are inevitable, but what's truly remarkable is how quickly Gout is closing the gap to the Jamaican legend's senior records. Bolt's world record in the 200 meters stands at 19.19 seconds, set at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin. While Gout's 19.98 came with significant wind assistance, the fact that he's already flirting with sub-20 performances at just 17 years old suggests a trajectory that could eventually challenge even Bolt's most hallowed marks. Gatlin, who had competed against Bolt throughout much of his career, raised important questions about what would come next for the young Australian star. Do you put him on a more international schedule to where he can race other athletes of his caliber and he will be in that season to be able to race them? Or do you just kind of let him be the king of his own domain? This concern highlights a genuine development dilemma. Gout has clearly outgrown his domestic competition, winning by margins that don't push him to his absolute limits. The 40-year-old sprint legend suggested a balanced approach. I think he's going to kind of take the Quincy route. He's going to run some of his age group and then some meet where he could jump into a pro race. This strategy would allow Gout to continue dominating age-appropriate competitions while occasionally testing himself against world-class professional sprinters. What we witnessed at the Queensland Championships was both a coronation and a warning shot to the international sprint community.